And we're back.
Yay! Woohoo!
Welcome to the Auto Authorities podcast, the one, the only. And my name is Jay Grossman. And I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent. And this is my co-host, Mr.
David Marks with Quality Auto STL, home of trusted services with no surprises.
We have a very awesome episode. I know I start off usually by saying that.
That's because everyone is.
But when we talk about this next topic, this has been a huge topic that is very, very misunderstood. And that is what we call the lemon law.
Ooh, wish I had a lemon.
Yeah. And it's just so misunderstood. After spending 18 years in the dealership world, nobody ever understood it. And by the time that we're done today, when you're listening to this, hopefully that you will understand it better. That is our goal. And that you can take some action if you're having issues with your vehicle. So it's going to be really, really powerful. We have just an incredible story to tell you about something that's actually happening right now as we speak with a very close relationship and friend of mine. And it's going to blow your mind when you hear about this. Are you ready to do this, Mr. David Marks?
Absolutely.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride when buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the podcast that tells you what to watch out for, whether you're buying, selling,
or repairing your car.
With 47 years of automotive experience, we are the Automotive Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars.
And Quality Auto STL. Trusted services with no surprises.
Boom!
Booyah!
Oh man, if you're just tuning in to us, we are talking about the lemon law. One of the most misunderstood laws there is. I think that this is just going to be great for everybody, whether you're buying a car, selling a car, or you don't even want to buy or sell a car. By knowing about this, you will leave more educated. And we're going to do this right now. We're going to talk about it. But before we talk about it, I would like to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com. And they are real estate agents for cars. At iAutoAgent, they will sell your car for you. You will never have to lift a finger at no cost to you. And when you want to buy a car nationwide, they will be there for you. You will never have to lift a finger for that. You will never have to leave the dealership. And they will put together the entire process and sift through the buying car crisis that is going on right now, which is even harder than ever to buy a car now. They will do it all for you on a contingency basis. And this is Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL, trusted services with no surprises. But what an amazing gentleman this is. He really is right. No, I mean, you get sentimental sometimes, and I am. I might give you a hard time sometimes as well.
Oh, I need that every once in a while.
But if you're just listening, if you're just tuning in, if you're on YouTube, if you can just hit the subscribe button and even hit the notifications button so to be notified for every single podcast that the Auto Authorities podcast does. And if you're on Facebook, please click the subscribe button, the join the group button, on the Facebook, the Auto Authorities podcast group. And guess what? You can watch this live. And should we tell them about our free gift, Mr. David Marks?
Nah, they don't need that.
You guys want to hear about the free gift? We'll
No.
tell you right now. We are giving away a free gift on how to buy a car without the nonsense, how to navigate through this crisis that we're dealing with right now to keep you from having to spend 4 to 7 hours at the dealership. And that is all yours for free. And all you have to do is take out your phone and text the word CAR, CAR, to 57838. That's 57838, and you'll receive your free ebook, and you'll be updated on all of our podcasts coming down the road. And man almighty, we're going to get into this right now, Mr. David Marks. What do you think about the lemon law?
Well, I think the first thing that people really need to know is this is a state by state law. Okay. And I think it's important to know that the information that we gathered is off the Missouri State, the Attorney General's website for the state of Missouri. We can't speak for every state. We're in Missouri, so this really applies to Missouri. And the biggest thing is it does not apply to used cars. None. It only applies to new. If you buy a used car, like we've been saying all these episodes, get that PPI, that pre-purchase inspection. Know who you're buying it from if you want to avoid buying a used lemon.
Absolutely. And I spent 18 years in the dealership world. And I worked for literally the largest dealership there was in Missouri. And they were ranked top 20 in the country. And I literally had people, when they would buy from that dealership, oh man, I'm gonna file for a lemon law on this used car. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second. Lemon law is not for used cars. It is only for new cars. And there's so much information that Mr. David Marks and I want to talk about.
Yeah, and this is straight off the Attorney General's website. This isn't nothing that we make up. This isn't our opinions. I mean, all I literally did is just Google lemon law Missouri. It took us straight to their website, and we're just pretty much relaying what's out there in black and white.
Absolutely. And we have been preaching, if you've been watching our podcast, when we talk about PPI, that's a pre-purchase inspection. If you are buying a used vehicle, if the company has not already inspected it, it's like one of the things that we do at iautoagent.com is we hire an independent third-party inspector. And sometimes it is Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL. And what that does is it gives an impartial view of what the vehicle really is versus having the dealership having their own people looking over the vehicle. It does not give you an impartial view. So the pre-purchase inspection is number one. And we're not going to get too much into warranties and stuff, but lemon law, usually when people think about it, it's something that happens when you have a problem with your car, right? You have a problem with your car, you take it to the dealership, and they're like, okay, well, we'll fix it. And then they can't fix it the first time. Then you take it back again, and they can't fix it again. And we're going to talk about a story about this because the lemon law is only for new cars. And what'd you say?
Or if they're leasing a new car. It requires new vehicle purchase and leases.
Yeah, it's for leases. And most of the time, you're leasing the car and you may turn it back in at the end. Sometimes you do buy it. And it is important to have something like that. But what really blew my mind is when I really started studying this, and I think you'll think the same thing, it's not crisp and clear, is it?
No, there's a ton of gray in this. I'd like to know how all kinds of stuff is like we talked about prior. They use the word reasonable a lot. Well, how the hell do you define reasonable?
Well, why don't you explain that? Because I don't think that our listening audience knows what that means.
Sure. So here's one of the things they mentioned. So if a vehicle has been out of service for 30 days, okay, excluding delays reasonable beyond the manufacturer's control. Well, what does that mean? So we got there's a distribution shortage. So if the part is made in China and the manufacturer has that part made in China and it's sitting on some cargo ship outside the coast of Los Angeles because there's a truck driver shortage and they can't get it to here to Missouri, is that beyond their control? Is that unreasonable? How do you define that? I've heard that here's an example. I heard the new Silverados at 327, they're known for having lifter issues. So if you buy a Silverado and 5,000 miles into it, a lifter fails, and it's causing engine noise, you take it to the dealer and they say, well, we don't know when we're going to fix it because we can't get parts. To me, this is my opinion. That's on General Motors. That's on the manufacturers. that's unreasonable. You build something new and you don't have replacement parts for it.
Yeah. And I think we really need to dig into this and really talk through the process of filing a lemon law claim and how you do that, and really the criteria, what they're talking about, what is reasonable. Like, oh, well, and I'm going to tell you a story here in a second, but when you go spend a lot of money on a car and you can't even drive your car because it's in the shop every time, that's really a pain in the butt. And what it usually happens on, and to correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. David Marks, the first year vehicles, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't ever recommend anybody buying the first run of anything that's all new, that's been redesigned, especially a powertrain system, because these guys can do all the R&D they want, but until they put it in the consumer's hands and they start selling them to consumers and we start driving them, they only know what they have, because the consumers will put a vehicle in conditions that the manufacturer won't think of or doesn't know really exist. I mean, I've heard this. I don't know if this is true. I have GM dealership experience. Is what General Motors would do is they would issue a car in a couple states first before they release it to the country to try to see what happens with it. I've heard GM does that. That's just a rumor. I don't have facts to back that up. But until they put them in, sell them, and see what comes back to their dealers, they only know what they have to a certain degree.
Yep.
GM may not have known they were going to have a lifter issue, so they didn't make a lot of replacement parts for it when they made that run.
So what I call is you want to be a laboratory test rat. That's basically what you are when you buy the first year of a new vehicle. It's the same as the darn phones. Like, I just got another phone, and I had to get another phone because magically my phone that I had for 3 years was just having all kinds of problems right before the new model came out. So when
Apple got caught for that.
It's true though. Like, so the first year of vehicle. So when I get ready to tell you about my friend's story here in a little bit, she bought the first year, and now you become the laboratory test rat. So they're like, it seems like we have a good vehicle, Mr. David Marks, but let's see if we could just put this out and let everybody test it, and let's just see what happens. And I mean, I'm not kidding. That's what they do.
Right. Like the 2022 F-150 all-electric that's coming out next spring. God only knows what kind of problems Ford is going to run into that they just aren't prepared for. I mean, these guys are smart, don't get me wrong, but they can't think of everything. They can't prepare for every single real-world experience they were in. I mean, look what happened with General Motors and the Bolt. They recalled every single one they made because the batteries catch on fire. And they told people, we don't know what's wrong with it. We don't have a fix for it. Just don't park it in your garage. That's what they told the public. And then finally they got it fixed, but they came up with a solution with LG. I don't know. I haven't read if they've had replacement parts available yet, because took them a few months to come up with a solution. And I don't know if they have replacement batteries made yet. I don't know. I haven't heard. I should dig into that.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. You would think, well, I would not give the manufacturers very much credit. They were the ones that got us in this, this chip shortage for being, let's use the word, non-proactive.
No, it's their just-in-time theory, where parts would hit the assembly line just in time to be put on the car. I mean, the Wentzville plant here in St. Louis, General Motors has a lot of its part suppliers. Their factories are right there outside the assembly line. So their suppliers set up camp outside. GM helps them do all this. Then they build it and it goes to the line and they put it right on the car. So they're building it before they're when they're putting it on. And they just, and that came back to bite them all in the ass with the chip shortage. Because prior to that, the just-in-time theory worked perfect. That they did that to control their cost.
So what I want to do is I want to real quick take a quick break to thank our sponsors once again. iAutoAgent.com. We are real estate agents for cars.
You're about to say my tagline.
I was. Yours is really catchy. Really
I've got that trademark too, by the way.
Yeah, I'll have mine too. So it's perfect. We're real estate agents for cars. We handle everything from selling the vehicle at no cost to you. If you don't want to go to the dealer and sell your car for pennies on the dollar and you don't want to do it on your own, call us. We'll handle everything and no cost to you. And then we'll help you buy a car nationwide. You don't want to navigate through this craziness. Hire us. We work on a contingency basis, and I'm sure you'll be happy. And this is Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL, the home of trusted services with no surprises.
That's right.
And also, if you're just tuning in, I would love you to subscribe to our YouTube if you're on YouTube, and click the subscribe button and then the notifications button, the little bell, and it'll notify you for all future episodes that we have. And they're so much fun to do. And then also, if you're coming to us through Facebook, please go to the Auto Authorities podcast group, click the join group button, and we want to see you. And if you just tuned in, should we tell them about our free gift, Mr. David Marks?
I don't know if they deserve it. They haven't been listening for the whole episode.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I think everybody does, because the reason why we put this book together is because it's going to help you navigate through the buying vehicle process. How to buy a car without the nonsense. Take out your phone right now and text the word car to 57838. That's 57838. And you get your free ebook. And now we get to really dig into some stuff, Mr. David Marks. We're going to go through how the lemon law works, how to make a claim. And I'm going to tell you a story right now, because one of the reasons why, story time. Bobby, are you listening?
Yeah, this is for you.
And Bobby would make a bad mistake. Bobby will sit there. Bobby will listen to this, and Bobby will actually do the opposite of what we say. So if you're listening and you don't want to cost yourself a lot of time and money, one of my very good friends, let's just call her Amy. And Amy was, she does very well for herself. She has a great family, and then she likes buying nice cars, her and her husband. And they decided to buy about $150,000 Mercedes. Yeah. And it just happened to be the first year. Yeah. That's where it starts going downhill, Mr. David Marks. And she told me that they had it in there, and I can't even remember. It was such a complicated name that she said, and I'm not.
Was it the flux capacitor?
It was the flex capacitor. That's it. She was trying to get back to the future.
Every car's got one. That's what I tell my customers. When we don't know what it is, it's a flux capacitor.
It could be the blinker fluid issue.
That too.
And so she's like, well, we had it in the shop already. And I see her about once a week. The absolute most just amazing, lovely lady there is. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sucks. You just got it. Well, I see her another week later, and she's like, hey, you're not going to believe this. The thing's in the shop again. And my husband is pissed. And then I just saw her again, and she's like, the thing is in there again for the same thing, and they cannot figure it out. And I said, Amy, have you ever heard about the lemon law? And there was like, boom, light bulb went off. And what that made me think is there might be other people like Amy that have had so many problems with their car that they may need to look into this. Now, again, it's only on a new car. So navigating through the process, when you have a lemon law claim, you have to go through the dealer, and that's the liaison with the dealer. And Dave, in your experience, you worked in dealerships. As far as how does that go? Like, how does that conversation go between the dealer and the manufacturer?
It starts with the service department, and I think the relationship that whatever particular dealer you're having, and whatever you bought the dealer from, like I worked at a Cadillac dealer, and it was more Cadillac. They're not around no more, but we had a pretty good relationship with General Motors. So if that service department has a good relationship, because remember, sales department, they just sell it and then they're done. Now it's between you and the service department and the manufacturer. So whatever make model we're talking about, I think the smoothness for the consumer is going to depend highly on what type of relationship that service department has with the manufacturer. If they have a good relationship, it's probably not going to be that difficult. But if they have a not so good relationship, the manufacturer may put up the block and say, make people have to jump through all kinds of hoops because they don't have a good relationship with that particular service department. And unfortunately, the customer's stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and there's no way to determine when you are buying that vehicle. You can't go to the service department. Hey, how good of a relationship do you have with the manufacturer? Just in case something breaks, you just don't know.
No.
So one of the things, Amy's a good friend of mine, and so I'm trying to help her through this terrible, terrible situation she's in. But there's a lot of really small print that we need to talk about right now. And well, we've already talked about not buying the first year, but there are certain vehicles too that you can't even get the lemon law on, right, Dave? Like you can't get it on motorcycles.
I was surprised. So you could spend all kinds of money on a Harley Davidson, and there's no recourse. You're SOL. I was shocked. Mopeds, I get, but the one thing that that really strikes me is there's a ton of gray in this is commercial vehicles. It says it doesn't, but how is that defined? So if I own a plumbing business and I'll go buy a 3/4 ton diesel, it don't matter if it's GM, Ford, or Dodge, as that qualifies as a commercial vehicle automatically because I'm using it for my plumbing business. How did they define commercial?
Yeah, absolutely. And what we'll talk about too is how we helped Amy, as far as navigating through this process, because it's not easy and it's so vague. Like it's really 4 times in the same, for the same repair.
But but there's no time sequence. And then, the other thing we've seen is if the manufacturer decides that your vehicle does qualify for, they prorate what they'll give you based on the usage. So how does that define? How is that prorated? And it said on the Attorney General's website, if I'm not mistaken, they determine that. Now you could fight that and argue that, but who has the resources to fight any of these legacy manufacturers that have been in business for 100 years? Ford's 118 years, GM's over 100. All these guys have been in business for so long. Who's gonna? I don't know if Brown and Crouppen would help them.
Well, and at the end of the day, it is probably going to come down to an attorney, and that's one of the things that I had suggested to Amy is, well, number one, you just need to start the process and start by talking to the service manager and saying, hey, this is unacceptable. I spent $150,000 on this. I want you to buy the vehicle back from me. And let me make sure I'm very clear on this. I told her, do not let the dealer say, and using these words, I will trade you out of the vehicle. No good. Because what a lot of times what dealers will do is like, oh, well, we'll trade you out of it. Okay, well, we'll trade you out of it. Does that mean you're going to give me full MSRP of what I paid? Oh, no. We're going to have to give you less. Why? I haven't even had a chance to drive my vehicle yet. So that's the first thing in the golden nugget that I wanted to share. The other thing is get with the service manager, the person that runs the service department. That is who is going to be your best ally. And just say, like, hey, listen, because here's the other thing, and you're going to love this. She says to me, and I want to buy the new Mercedes with the new electric Mercedes coming out. And I'm like, oh, gosh, Amy, no. It's the first year. Well,
those tax incentives are nice. I mean, I don't know what I last time I looked. Well,
it doesn't matter.
I think we qualify for $4,500. I'm just going to say that and stop.
It doesn't matter what the tax incentive is if the vehicle is not even going to run. And I'm going to tell you this: that would scare the living crap out of me to own a fully electric vehicle first year it comes out, never been produced. Holy cow! Can you just imagine what is in store for our good friend.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts. So I'm hoping, so the first line of fire, if you're listening, go to the service department, make a complaint. Then if that's not working and you're not getting to the next level, hire an attorney. And they might work on a contingency basis as well. It may be the fact that maybe that they give you money back and they just take a cut of the money, whatever it is. I don't know, because frankly, I've never had to get an attorney involved with this. But this is a topic that has been talked about a lot, and nobody knows what's going on. And now that we have figured out, I don't think the state of Missouri knows what's going on.
No, I think the state of Missouri let a lot of gray. I mean, because there's maybe times where the manufacturer does have a legitimate case that, look, this is just beyond our control, and then there's times when the consumer has a legitimate case. So I would imagine that's why they left a lot of gray. And I think the emphasis needs to be made too. You brought a very good point, Jay. Deal with the service manager, but be nice. Don't go in there just screaming, cussing, and yelling. You're just come screaming, cussing, yelling at me. I'm not going to help you. Just be nice. There's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Apply that to the degree, and you'd be surprised what people will do. Say, like, hey, I really love this car. I've had other Mercedes. I really like it. Can you please help me out? I had a great experience with the sales process. I know it's not your guys' fault, but, unfortunately, you're cut in the middle because I have to deal with you. Can we help me work something out? And they'll probably be willing to help with you. But going there just screaming and yelling, nobody's going to do a damn thing for you.
I agree with that 100%. And you'll get more with honey than vinegar. And that's, the thing I live by. I don't, you just have to have tact with this, because that person is your key to the city. And
Yep.
and if you piss them off, like, who wants to work with people that they don't value you? You want someone to value you. And so if they come to you kindly and appreciative, and they say, hey, listen, I would really like this. I'd like to get this vehicle bought back. And I'm planning on buying another brand new Mercedes soon.
Yeah. Can we trade this up for another one? Maybe last year's model.
Don't say trade, because I'm telling you, when you get,
Well, okay, or swap it. Even Steven.
Well, if they can even Steven it, but the thing is, what if that car's worth? I just think that you should take the dollar amount. So let's say $150,000. You take that dollar amount, and you can have $150,000 applied to your next vehicle, and you give them that back. I think that that's totally fair. And I'm hoping, and I told Amy that I was doing this for her, because she is absolutely the nicest person that you ever could meet in your life. She does so much good for everybody. It's time for somebody to do something good for her. And her husband is a physician, and so he's doing good things for people. Let's take care of these guys. Let's say I'm hoping that they can get something done. I told them I could maybe throw around my weight a little bit for them as well. But we need some consumer help here, and I'm hoping that it doesn't take her to have to go to an attorney to get this thing done. But this vehicle will be nothing but problems down the road. If it keeps popping up, it's just going to be a headache, and you just don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, my hats off to him, man. I'll be praying about him, because you're dealing with big, they got deep pockets. There ain't no hurry to do nothing for nobody. Consumers only have so much time and money and resources compared to the manufacturer.
That's exactly right. I think we leave it on that note too. I would like to thank everybody for listening today. Again, my name is Jay Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoagent.com, and this is Mr.
David Marks with Quality Auto STL, home of trusted services with no surprises.
Thanks for making this such a great year for us. For everybody that's listening, please comment, share this with everybody you know, and we will see you next week.
Bye.